Hello, I'm Peg Lane. I'm a special educator for students with dyslexia and emotional behavioral disorders, K through 12. I'm also a certified practitioner of psychodrama. And with me today, I have a special guest, Lorelei Goldman, who is the Psychodrama Training Institute of Chicago training director for 35 years or so. Thank you for being here, Lorelei. We wanted to talk about your book, your memoir, uh, and so there it is. And so let's let me ask first about your motivation for writing this book.
Well, I've been writing all of my life since I was a little kid, little girl. And I got myself into a memoir group and got really challenged and more disciplined. I used to just throw books out, and not books, but I would just do my stories and share them with friends. But the last couple of years, I got really sparked to be disciplined enough to have a story ready every 2 weeks. And I have been published before with The Future is Where I Live, which was a story that was published. And it was about all my work at the Park Ridge Youth Campus with orphaned children of the state. And even then, I was doing experiential drama, which is psychodrama. And that was when we did the play of Mice and Men. And the students could identify. So right then and there, while they're reading the script, and we did a show for their parents, the parent night, they were actually experiencing new ways of thinking. So the motivation came from my whole life history. And then I thought, you know what? And I had to wrestle with this, Peg. I want to leave something for my family. So I was able to give the book to two cousins. They were like very interested. And now we are meeting every couple of weeks to talk about family history. And that's kind of wonderful to go back and give information they don't have, because I'm the oldest living relative on my mother's side. So that was sparked. And then I thought, I've always wanted, I did a little poetry book too that was self-published. And so I thought, well, time to get this out and, be open about mental illness, of which was very, very strong in my family. And trauma, which is what we work with as practitioners, with human beings, and helping to relieve some of their pain so that they can, in some ways, have moments of healing, just to put it that way. Because the other part that is in the book that is absolutely important is the creative strategies to be able to cope. And I consider psychodrama, creative drama, many of the arts, but what I've been teaching is that it gives people an opportunity to go, you know what, I'll go to that concert, or I'll go to that institute and I'll learn new things about myself. So that's about, I could go deeply into the methods of psychodrama, but we're going to deal with the book. So thanks for that question, Peg, and it's delightful to be with you today.
Yeah, I wondered what parts of the book you enjoyed writing the most.
Let's see, I have it right here. Should probably have it off the top of my head. I like writing, things that are funny as well as things that carry, things that carry misfortune or pain or difficulty. So I would say, and the first one that's in here that I think people enjoy a lot is, let's see, I've got some of them. That's kind of a good question. Grandma's legs, that was in the history of my family. It's about my grandmother's swollen, endemic, well, not endemic, but having, what's the word for when you're
Edema.
Yeah. Edema. Yeah. So that's another one that was fun to write. My father's immigration, which starts the book, is also fascinating. Fascinating for the kids that I used to teach. They couldn't believe that my father traveled from Kiev and then got on a wooden boat. That the kids would go, my students, what? No, and they actually did my father would say they threw over those children or family members who were ill, so they wouldn't infect others. But that could be what we call in the Yiddish language a Bubameister. Now, a Bubameister means a strange invented story. To get
Oh,
back to your
oh,
question, cathartization, I was joyful about my older daughter reading and saying, "That's okay, Mom." So I wasn't sure how she would feel about my writing about her, and she was just fine with it, although she was very determined to change the name. So she's in the book under a different name. So there you go. All right. And then unassisted living, which deals with getting older and making choices, which isn't easy when you've been as active as I. So yeah, they just floated out of me, these stories.
yeah. I enjoyed that part of it because knowing you, I know how many wonderful stories you have
Thank you so much.
from your life. Um, I wondered too, what were the most difficult parts to write about that you felt you needed to include?
It's a good question. I think it's very interesting to know that I always sometimes carried or hid the fact that my mother was around for a while unhealthy, and then she moved, unfortunately, into a kind of a schizophrenic aspect of her mental illness. First, it was manic depression. And then my brother also, which is sad, and I was his caretaker. We used to meet him on Sundays at the Burger King and have a meal together. And that was my brother Ron, who turned to be, unfortunately, as a young adult, which is when schizophrenia does show its face, also schizophrenic. And I always hid that, like, oh my gosh, what do people think of me? So I'm so delighted I don't have that anymore. Maybe once in a while, maybe teeny tiny bit of shame, but not huge, not huge.
Yeah,
So people who have mental illness or families, they can kind of uncover that hiding and gain some, oh, Lorelei has that? Wow. Maybe I can cope.
yeah, yeah. One of the testimonials you sent was from the North Shore Village, a national group, but you have a local section. Uh, Elders, 166 elders who have a memoir group. And so in August, you had a book launch with them.
Really? Yes.
And one of the people on the video talked about how open your book was about difficult subjects like the mental illness of your mother and your brother Ron, and
Uh-huh.
how she felt that your book, Kathleen said that your book is a model for all healthcare workers to read
Uh-huh.
about how this is a malady among many of us, and that
Yep.
it's more common than we think. And you dealt with it, she said, in such an open and honest way. So
Mhm.
she felt like healthcare workers should all read that book.
Right, right. Well,
Uh,
it does hold universal truths. It doesn't have an essential do
Looks like you're frozen up for a minute there.
stories. They're mostly short. Did that. Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Um, you froze up for a minute. Would you mind repeating that?
Okay. What did I say? Oh, yes. There are universal truths enclosed, embedded in the stories. Like you're shaking your head because you're with me and you're present with me, and and you say, oh yeah, I have a brother as well who is challenged. And this is how I manage my own energy, my own love of a family member. And so people will feel that. They'll feel that about moving forward or through trauma. They'll feel that in the aspects of creativity, which gives people a new look a new look at the angst that they may be carrying. Now,
Yeah.
for a moment, go ahead. Yeah,
Oh,
for a
well,
moment, or a change that's going to continue to flow.
yeah.
Yeah,
And one thing that occurs to me is that I think many families are dealing with undiagnosed issues.
especially now, Peg.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
adding that, yeah, they're adding that to the dialogue about the COVID
yeah.
and mental health, which becomes a
And being,
part of that.
yes, being separate from,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Being isolated.
yeah.
Uh-huh. That is very true in the isolation. I heard a story from my physician that when you're isolated, like prisoners in solitary confinement, wow, research has shown that some of the prisoners stop speaking. They stop speaking, which is terribly tragic. And in psychodrama, in the form of group psychotherapy through creative expression, people do move forward. They go, especially through one of our methods called role reversal. And that's in the book, to learn about what happens in role reversal, which people do sometimes naturally. They don't even know, but they have the skill to, in some ways, emulate the other person's issue. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Um, what other feedback besides the memoir group did you
Well, you
receive
know,
that I'm asking particularly about feedback that was interesting and thoughtful, maybe?
a lot of it was like small talk, I must say. Several people, oh, Lorelei, that was stunning. Oh my gosh, this is a beautiful book, kind of thing, but not real connecting statements. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
I think Kathleen, who came to the launch, expressed it the best. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Moving through dark times, being open, right? As a testimonial to life, how to live life.
Well, also that you're honest with yourself, and
Yes,
so, like you mentioned, I have my brother who is in a
right.
group home because of an accident, and uh, the honesty that this is in the world, this kind of tragedy is in the world,
It is, it's well said.
and it
Serious.
shouldn't be hidden because injured people are people too.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Um, and so, have you had some thoughts post publication of your book? I know you sent a chapter that you wrote this month in addition to what your book revealed. Uh, what kind of post publication thoughts have you
Well,
had?
I don't think Facebook would do it, but I'd like to get this out, on several posts and several different programs. And I'm doing it, step by step, very little. So I am in the phase of marketing. I mean, in the beginning, whoa, I sold so many books. Um, and actually, it isn't for for the money. It's just to get it out there and be creative with people and just keep doing what I've done most of my life, which is teaching. And the book is certainly a model for teaching and unloading. So I've used the book with maybe 2 gigs where I have people, which is interesting, and I have it online, look at the chapter titles. And as they're looking at the chapter titles, they go, I say, which one do you resonate with? And people come forward and they say, oh, what's in a name? That was one member of the group. And then people went around and they shared about, their names, how they got their names,
Yeah.
and that was a lot of fun and very, very informative as well. Yeah.
And so, one thought I had that there are memoir groups in many institutions, and I know senior centers that have memoir groups, classes for people, or just gatherings of writers. It seems that your book is a model for elders who are
Yes,
telling their life story.
right, about the choices they have to make, and yeah. So I wanted to just share something that's kind of cute in the beginning of the book. It's called Meeting Gratitudes. And they go to my Thursday memoir group, and I named 6 people, and my faithful cheerleaders, 4 people. Actually, someone that you know and I know is on there. Sally Witt is in there, so they get contributions to the buddies that we're pushing ahead. Yeah, and it's neat to, in some way, say, you know what? I got a book out there that may be helpful, entertaining,
Yeah.
and full of new ideas.
Yeah.
I have some old ideas, you know.
Do you have ideas about writing in the future?
I think about it sometimes. I don't know. It's a lot of work. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being here.
Sure.
Really
It's,
appreciate your discussion of your process and your book.
I like your questions, and terrific to be with you today.
All right. We'll see you and the book on social media soon.
That's terrific. You have a great day
Thanks.
and a better tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Bye bye.